glad you're alive. No remaining witnesses other than my ex-husband, assuming he's still alive.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. Warning spoilers for Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul to Season 6, Episode 12. In this video, I'll be breaking down and reviewing Episode 612, the penultimate episode of Better Call Saul. Like the video if you end up enjoying it, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Twitter for more Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad updates. With that being said, let's jump into the breakdown. So this episode starts out showing Saul procrastinating having to see Kim and sign their divorce papers. On one hand, Saul is clearly nervous to see Kim, along with not wanting to have to go through the divorce process with her. On the other hand, Saul is being spiteful here by forcing Kim to sit in the waiting room. We see Saul bouncing around a stress ball to kill time, just like he did in Season 4 at CC Mobile. Francesca calls him to say how everyone can hear him bouncing the ball around. Saul says how that's the sound of thinking and that she should try it sometime, which is a horrible yet somewhat hilarious comeback. Francesca tells Saul that he still has a waiting room full of clients and that she'll leave if he doesn't get the ball rolling soon as it's getting late. Now the way that Francesca says this sounds like she's stressed out and about to break down. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but the way that I perceive the crackle in her voice is almost as if she's about to snap due to losing her patience.
We've got a lobby full of people out here, and at 8 o'clock, I am done. I don't care if the building burns down, I'm going home.
Saul bounces his ball around a few more times, hitting one of the pillars behind his desk, causing it to fall over due to being made of styrofoam or something like that. Saul puts the pillar back into place and tells Francesca to send in Kim. We then jump to about 3/4 of the way through the episode to see Kim in his office signing the divorce papers. Kim's body language implies that she wants to speak to Saul, but Saul is doing everything he can to act disinterested in the fact that she's there, such as texting on his phone. Kim doesn't want things between them to end like this, possibly hoping for them to at least reconcile somewhat before she leaves town for Florida. Saul, however, is spiteful and hateful, belittling her when he finally does speak to her by telling that she'll be sorry that she didn't take the Sandpiper money, along with asking her why she's moving to Florida just to cut her off when she starts responding. Saul also tries bragging to Kim about how his office looks, as it's the Cathedral of Justice that Kim suggested to Jimmy that Saul should have back in episode 601. Saul's office is just as fake as his persona, implied by the fact that he easily knocked over one of the pillars at the beginning of the episode. Saul's doing everything he can to pretend that he doesn't care, as he doesn't want to show Kim all the emotions that he truly has deep down towards the situation at hand. The way that Saul tells Kim to have a nice life is incredibly cold, and perfectly encapsulates him masking his emotions all in just a few words.
Have a nice life, Kim.
As Kim leaves, Saul then belittles Francesca to send in the next client, calling her sweet cheeks, saying that they should make some money. This is Saul once again pretending to show how little he thinks of Kim by low-key flirting with Francesca in front of her. This really hits home considering that Francesca has known them ever since Season 3, when they were just a hopeful couple trying to work in an office together. As Kim leaves, we see Emilio walk in, which fits the narrative of Jesse telling Walt that Saul has helped Emilio out multiple times. I assume this is the first time that Saul has helped Emilio, while the second time was during the very first episode to Breaking Bad when Emilio was busted by Hank and his team. Since Emilio is Jesse's old partner, it implies that Jesse's cameo is just around the corner, which we see as Kim steps outside. I love seeing the Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul worlds clash in such a way where it feels like Kim and Jesse are two passing ships in the night, something that I discussed in depth during my full breakdown of the 612 Jesse cameo. It's crazy how these two characters play such a pivotal role in the Better Call Saul Breaking Bad universe, and that their worlds are overlapping like a Venn diagram, but in a way where they actually are complete strangers to each other, and they'll never realize how important they both are to each series as a whole. It was really interesting seeing Jesse make small talk with Kim, unaware of her true past with Saul. The rain in this scene also symbolizes a lot of things actually, such as the overall mood to this situation, with Kim seeing Saul for the last time before she leaves for Florida. When Jesse asks Kim if Saul's any good, she tells him that when she knew him, he was, which sums up a million words that she could say about Saul all into one. It's nice to see Jesse back in the days of his innocence before all the traumatic situations that he experiences throughout Breaking Bad, as here he's still carefree and lighthearted just like he was in the early Breaking Bad seasons. This is a bookend for Jesse's character not only in Better Call Saul but in the Breaking Bad universe as a whole, and it's interesting to see him potentially the youngest we ever have chronologically in the timeline. Now during 2010 on Kim's side of the episode, we see how she's taken up a totally mundane, boring lifestyle, low-key torturing herself in the same way that Saul has by living his gene. Except where Saul was forced to go into hiding his gene, Kim is choosing to punish herself by choice, things. This is not at all the Kim that we knew throughout Better Call Saul, as the old Kim would always make her own decisions and took extreme pride in doing so. The new Kim is extremely passive, not allowing herself to make any decisions whatsoever. She gets a new boyfriend to decide for her whether or not she'll use Miracle Whip in her tuna salad, and she doesn't choose what kind of cake her coworker will like, along with many other examples that show how Kim is allowing others to make decisions for her. She's even working on documents where she's just typing out paragraphs on the computer that have already been written up for her, which feels like she's permanently sticking herself in doc review, a punishment that Howard used to give her at HHM. It's almost as if Kim is scared to make her own decisions, thinking that awful things will come of it. A few side notes to Kim's new life. For one, it appears that the puzzle that we see her trying to solve is really just one color, which is the most difficult kind of puzzle to complete. With Kim's mundane lifestyle, this seems to be one of the only things that she can stimulate her intelligence with. Also, I'm sorry in advance, but in my opinion, her new haircut is just absolutely atrocious. It may be due to me being used to the Kim/Ray Seahorn's usual hairstyle and color, but this new style just doesn't suit her. I'm all for change and people trying out a new style, and although her haircut isn't bad in general, it just doesn't suit her whatsoever. Her hair and outfit is old-fashioned even for 2010, feeling like something out of the late 1990s to early 2000s. Kinda makes her look childish too. For example, during the scene when she's out for lunch at work, while she's eating her tuna fish sandwich, her demeanor kinda reminds me of Eleven from Stranger Things. Now don't get me wrong, I totally understand why they did this. The contrast of how Kim looks now compared to how she used to look is huge, with her just now trying to live a mundane, boring life where she's purposely just going through the motions without any aspiration. Kim is haunted by her past, and she's never been able to forget what she did to Howard. This is why when Gene calls her and yells at her to turn herself in, she actually snaps and goes back to Albuquerque to do just that. Now the way that Gene treated her during their phone call was horrible, but he didn't really mean it when he told her to turn herself in. He was just frustrated that Kim would tell him to do that in the first place after everything Saul has gone through to change his identity and go into hiding as Gene. Although Kim is correct in assuming that whatever life Jimmy is living, it's not much of one, the exact same thing could be said about herself. In a way, Kim is projecting herself onto Gene, continuing the parallel of their lives during 2010. However, Kim was caught incredibly off guard by Gene calling her, so I don't blame her for being so silent during the phone call or saying what she did when she actually did speak. Gene, on the other hand, must have thought time and time again about what he'd say to Kim if he ever spoke to her again, which makes him lashing out at her over the phone just that much worse. I do like how when Gene lists off everyone who's died in the past 6 years, he says Lalo apparently, which matches up with Jimmy never truly knowing if Lalo is dead or not due to his paranoia and trauma that he went through, along with Mike being wrong about Lalo being dead the first time in season 5. Now Gene eventually does calm down and try to backpedal, but it's too little too late. The phone call ends with Kim telling him that she's happy he's alive and then hanging up on him. Although this is a cold thing to say and do, it really is the truth. No matter what Kim and Jimmy go through or how long they go without speaking, they will always care for each other. Now Kim goes back to Albuquerque to hand in a confession, but keeps Jimmy's name out of it, still covering for him. When she meets Cheryl, she implies that she doesn't even know if her ex-husband is alive. This is a great parallel to Kim telling Gene that she's happy that he's still alive. Kim says how she wants to fix her wrongs and change Howard's legacy, but with it being 6 years later, it's too little too late. Cheryl is right in saying how their cons against Howard is all that anyone remembers him for, so even if Kim did turn herself in and give Howard and Cheryl the justice that they deserve, it can never fix how Kim and Jimmy ruined Howard's reputation for all those years, along with getting him killed. Although Kim acts like she's turning herself in for noble reasons, in my opinion it's actually selfish. This of course is up to interpretation, just like a lot of things on this show, but in my opinion, Kim getting everything off her chest that she's balled up for the past 6 years is just in order to make herself feel better, which is the exact thing that she accused Howard of doing in season 4 in regards to Chuck's death. Kim gets back on the bus and returns to the airport with this long drawn-out scene to Kim bawling her eyes out, which is just as awkward as it is powerful. Kim is letting out all her emotions that she's bottled up for the past 6 years, and it really shows. Ray Seahorn's acting during the scene is incredible, and apparently it only took 2 takes. She lets out an incredibly genuine, ugly cry, which makes it seem just that much more realistic. Now, too often in entertainment, crying looks fake due to still having the actor look reasonable when they cry, but in reality, no one looks good when they're sobbing, and Ray Seahorn nails it here in this scene. It's incredibly heartbreaking to see Kim break down like this on a public bus, with the camera holding the shot without cutting away for so long, to the point that it goes from feeling slightly awkward to extremely uncomfortable. Bravo Vince, you sick, brilliant man. Kim's phone call with Gene didn't only cause something inside her to snap, but him as well. While Kim goes to turn herself in, Gene is unable to due to all the effort that he went into getting away, which he horribly bragged about during their phone call. So although Gene doesn't want to willingly turn himself in, during episode episode 611 and 612, he goes on a self-destructive path where he'll keep pushing and pushing the envelope until eventually he is caught. Gene's side of the episode picks up where 611 left off, with Gene breaking into the target's house that Buddy and Jeff advised against. Now, the amount of money that the target has invested is $737,612.62. In my 612 Easter eggs video, I already mentioned how the $737,000 is in reference to the money that Walt calculated at the end of season 1 / the beginning of season 2 of Breaking Bad. But viewers also pointed out to me that the 612 is in reference to the current episode, season 6 episode 12, along with the 62 cents being the total episode count up to this point. So Gene goes through with the normal con, taking photos to steal the mark's identity. But then when Jeff arrives and Gene has the chance to leave, he goes back for more. Gene gets sloppy and selfish, stealing watches and pouring himself a drink and rudely leaving a cigar box open. Since Gene takes so long inside the house, the mark eventually wakes up, along with cops coincidentally pulling up beside Jeff. The mark then goes to sit on the bottom of the stairs, leaving Gene trapped upstairs in his attic man cave. Gene grabs the urn of the man's dead dog and almost beats him over the head with it, but thankfully the man falls asleep again, allowing Gene to sneak past him. Now, when Jeff speeds away and instantly crashes his car, I've heard a lot of people give him a hard time for it, saying how stupid he is. Now, in my opinion, I think Jeff did this on purpose as a distraction to allow Gene to sneak out of the house. And it's funny because it's so convincing that it tricks the cops and even apparently a lot of the viewers that watched this episode. Now, it's true that Jeff could have just sped away or tried drifting around the corner instead of crashing, but I feel like he did that to make sure that the cops would go after him and move away from the house that Gene was trapped inside of. Now, one little plot hole, couldn't Gene have just ran out the back door and ran through the yard or something? I don't know. Anyways, when Gene gets home, he pours himself a glass of booze and waits for Jeff to call him from the police station. It's funny how in episode 610, Gene told Jeff that he wouldn't have to call him dad yet since he was mingling with Marion so well, while in episode 612, Jeff calls Gene while pretending to call him dad. Gene confidently tells Jeff that he'll have him out of police custody ASAP, but calls Marion next due to not being able to go down to the police station himself. I always wondered if Gene's paranoia would be his downfall, but this episode proves that his confidence is actually his downfall instead. When Gene calls Marion, she's suspicious of him right off the bat due to calling her so early, and then wondering why Jeff called him instead of her, making her think that he was involved with whatever got Jeff arrested. Then while talking to her, Gene lets it slip that he knows about Albuquerque laws, which is the final straw for Marion, who now suspects him to be a con man, especially since he told her in a previous episode that he's never been to Albuquerque. She puts 2 and 2 together and looks up Albuquerque con man, and up pops Saul Goodman. Meanwhile, Gene is driving to her house without a care in the world, cheerfully singing along to the radio. When Gene arrives, he hears his commercials coming through Marion's headset, causing him to open the laptop and see for himself. Marion instantly goes to call the police, but Gene stops her by ripping the cord out of the wall. Gene then starts wrapping the cord around his hands, implying that he's gonna strangle her. Since Gene almost killed the mark earlier in the episode with the dog's urn, it made it that much more believable that Gene was going to do something horrible to Marion, since he already showed the audience that he was prepared to kill when he needed to. Marion telling Gene that she trusted him brought him down to earth for just long enough to let go of Marion's life alert, causing her to instantly press it. Even though she had gotten through to him, she didn't know how long that would last, and uses that opportunity to her advantage, causing Gene to flee. This episode gets a solid S tier. I love everything about it, including all the answers we get plot-wise. We find out what Kim's been up to all these years, we hear her full phone call with Gene, along with seeing her return to Albuquerque and tell Cheryl the truth. We then see Gene self-destruct and get himself made, which is incredibly ironic considering how he originally defused the situation with Jeff, but had to keep pushing. I also love the scenes in the Breaking Bad timeline showing Kim and Saul signing their divorce papers, along with an extra cameo from Jesse. Let me know what you thought about episode 612 in the comments below. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything I've said today. If you're new to the channel and just haven't already, subscribe and hit that bell notification to stay updated on when I post new content on Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Check out my Patreon or give a super thanks to help support the channel financially. But most importantly, I thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Right? You just walk into the station, you pay a straight cash bail. It's not like Albuquerque at all.
Like bananas all this rain.